Good morning. In this video, I'm just going to walk you through the project template, just talking about each section and what you're expected to do in each situation. I'm going to start with the analysis, because this is the section I actually want you to start with. So in the analysis here, it starts off with, it says first pair of quantities, and then if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the second pair and the third pair. What you're doing for the first pair is all of this. And then for the second and third, you're going to do the same thing. So you'll have to copy all of this and paste it twice, once for the second and once for the third. Now, I want you to start by putting in your measurements in these tables. Let me make a copy first. So if I use the example in class of stacking books and measuring their height, I would do this. Instead of the title being first pair of quantities, I would type the following. And what I typed in blue is just a suggestion. It's like a sentence starter. I want you to type in black, and so I'm going to say height of, actually, I'm going to say number of books and height of book stack. I'm going to put that in bold here. I'll make it a title so everything is capitalized. Book stack. Okay, so I can delete this. I don't need that. That was just to show you that this is where it goes. So number of books and height of book stack. Let me actually number it number 1, just to keep it super clear. And then it says here, we measured these quantities by. So I'm going to explain what I did. So I said the following. I said we used a stack of identical books and a ruler to perform this investigation. So I'm listing my materials here. First, we placed one book flat on a flat surface and measured its height off the surface using the ruler. Then we added a second book to the stack. Let me add to the stack on top of the first, and measured the total height of both books. So I said total height of both books. So now you know that I'm measuring both of them. We repeated this process for all 10 books. So we added 1, measured the total, added 1, measured the total. We also added a measurement for no books at all, because the height in that case would be 0 centimeters. So this serves as a description of what am I measuring exactly and how did I measure it, okay? And here it says the following measurements calculations were made. In this case, it's measurements. So I can just delete this, and I'll leave the rest of the sentence as it is, but I'll turn it in black. And then here I can put my data. So in the first one here would be books, and really there are no units, and height of stack. And in this case, my units would be centimeters. Okay, so 0 books, 1, 2, 3, so on, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if you ever want to add columns, you just have to right-click. If you don't know how to right-click, look it up. Right-click and say insert column to the right here. And so it adds a new column. And then you put all of your data, which you already have in phase 2. Okay? It then says, we then use this table to attempt to calculate a constant of proportionality. This was done by. So in phase 2, we tried to calculate a constant of proportionality by dividing both quantities. So you have to say we did this by dividing whatever. So in my case, it would be dividing the height of the stack by the number of books for each measurement, right? So you have to be able to explain this. How was it done? And then the results were the following. Again, this can just be turned to black. But I want this phrase to be on the next page just because it's related to this table. Now, the first 2 rows of this table is exactly what this table is. It's the same exact data. But K here is your constant of proportionality. So after you divided the height of the stack by the books, or whatever your quantities are, what was the result in every single measurement? Again, that's something we did in phase 2. You're just copying the numbers in a nice format. Okay? And then you sort of give like whatever your table analysis was. Like the constants of proportionality were found to be similar or not similar. We can initially say that this relationship is proportional or not, depending on what your results here were. Okay, so over here, this is pretty much your table analysis. All right, and then you start talking about the graph. So we then plotted the points on the scatter chart below. Actually, on the scatter chart below. And instead of this sample graph, you need to use your own. And the best way to do that is on Google Sheets, there's an options button here where you can export your graph. You can take a screenshot as well. As long as it's readable, it'll be acceptable. But also, please use a border. You can see here, there's a black border. The way you add it is you click on the image, and you'll see border right here. You can choose 1 point or 2. Just so that you can tell that this is a border. Also, when you click on the chart, make sure that the wrap text is clicked. That way you can move this wherever you want on your page without interference. Okay? On the side here, or maybe below, depending on how big your graph is, I want you to, let's move this up a bit, yeah. On the side here, I want you to sort of give me your graph analysis. We can see that the points are making a straight line. We can see that it's passing through the origin or not. So give me your graph analysis here. And what I mean by we can see estimated the point 1K. 1K is basically, in this case, it's going 0, 5, 10. I want you to give me a very coarse estimate of what the value is around x equal to 1. For some of you, it's going to be impossible because some of you have very large data, so it wouldn't make sense, especially if it's not proportional. But if you can give me an estimate, so in this case, I can sort of estimate that if this is 5, this is around 1 over here. If this is 20, over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can imagine that this would be a little bit over 3. Okay, so we can just say that my 1k is if x is 1, y would be around 3. But again, this is not the most important thing. But this whole paragraph should serve to give me your graph analysis from phase 2. Okay, and then here, this is your conclusion. After analyzing the table, after analyzing the graph, is this proportional or not? Just tell me here, is this proportional or not overall? Okay, now 2 things that aren't on the template, but you need to do if the relationship is proportional, is talk about the equation and the unit rate, starting with the unit rate, actually. So if it is proportional, you would say the unit rate. So you'd say the unit rate for this relationship is, and then you put whatever the number is. Let's say it's 5.1, and then whatever the units are. So I'm going to say centimeters per book. Let's say it was 3.1 or something. Okay, so you have to include your units. And then you talk about your equation. You can say this. You can say this relationship can be modeled by the equation y equals, again, in this case, let's say 3.1x. And then you're done. Okay, so then you move on to your second and third pair. And you do the same exact thing. All right? This is just for the analysis part. In the introduction, you sort of just say, we chose to study this pair, this pair, this pair, and talk about your 3 pairs. Just give me titles, what are they? And give me a reason why you chose each of them. I just want to see if you have a reason for it, for each of the pairs. I'm going to leave the discussion for last. In the conclusion, you're just stating your results, the first pair, the unit rate of it in the model. If it's not proportional, just write none. By model, it means the equation. So you can put the equation here. If it's not proportional, again, just put none in both with this conclusion over here. And then lastly, the discussion. The discussion is there so that you can talk about what the results mean. So first, you want to talk about inaccuracies. So while measuring the textbooks, for example, for the same example, my measurements weren't, let's say, exactly in a straight line, or my points on the graph weren't exactly in a straight line. So I could say this could have happened because some of the books are beat up. Maybe I wasn't measuring I wasn't like holding the ruler exactly straight, and so this might have led to some inaccuracies. So you want to talk about some inaccuracies here. Then talk about something interesting. Like both these two lines are, if you would take an extreme example. So if I'm stacking books, let's say like I would say I would need to stack like 5,000 books to reach the height of the Cairo Tower, or I would need to stack this many books to get from Earth to the moon. Just something interesting where we can use our equation, like the y equals kx. We can use it to find how many books we would need to stack to get to give it a cool comparison. And so obviously this depends on what you have, and find a real world example where you can compare these things, or come up with your own, like going to the moon or stacking books to reach the Cairo Tower. Okay. And that's it. That's each section. But please start with the analysis, and then please use this word bank. This is here to remind you of the words we've learned in this unit. And I want you to be using most of them: unit rate, constant proportionality, proportional, non-proportional, origin. And you're not going to use all of them, but I want you to use as many of them as possible. And that's about it. So send me an email if you have any more clarification questions. I know a lot of you hate writing, but it's one of those things where it's easy. It just requires you to practice it. All right. So good luck, and I'll see you at some point.